Join me today as we talk about the Trump interview with ABC, Bill Belichick's interview with CBS. A lot of crazy stuff was going on there. Elon Musk is winding down his role at Doge. We have a new Canadian prime minister, and the American people have a long memory. And we want people accountable for all the things they've done to our country. Stick around. You just might learn something. Welcome to the Eric T. Conversation. I'm Eric T. I've read both books from Bongino, Follow the Money, and by Kash Patel, Those Government Gangsters. And after reading both of these books, I've come to the conclusion that they have all the evidence they absolutely need to arrest individuals from Crossfire Hurricane and the whole Russia collusion hoax. I believe it. From what I read in these books, they have researched, they have facts, they have names of individuals, and nothing has been done yet. I'm shocked, actually. And it just goes to show me, I talked about this last week in my other show. Kash Patel is the head of the FBI, and Don Bongino is his number 2 of the FBI. And both those individuals went on podcasts, they had their shows, have these books that they've written with all the evidence pointing to all the individuals that they named in each one of these cases, and still nothing has been done with them. I don't understand why not. We had 100 days of the Trump's presidency, and at 100 days, that's about 3 months plus 10 days, they're still on any arrests. And the biggest culprit is Senator Adam Schiff from California. That guy's was named in each one of these books with the evidence that they had, all the things that he had done with the Russia hoax, and nothing has been done or said about any of these individuals that were involved in these things. The Crossfire Hurricane whole thing, the Hillary Clinton campaign purchasing the Steele dossier that was fabricated for the Russia hoax, it is shocking information if you read these. And if you're on the left and you haven't read these books, you should read these books. I read some books from the left too, but these 2 books I've been wanting to read for a while. I just never got around to it. But I just recently, over the last couple of weeks, read them and finished them up. And I'm really shocked at all that information that's come out about these investigations that we have nothing to show for it on the other end. Now, Bongino and Kash Patel, great guys, right? They were all over social media. Dan Bongino has his own show. Kash Patel has his show, but they're all on different podcasts. And they said a lot of things about what they're going to do if they got in charge or what needs to happen. And none of this thing has happened. So I understand there are things probably behind the scenes that are happening. And Dan Bongino came out a few weeks ago and he said, listen, just because you're not seeing it doesn't mean things aren't happening. Well, we truly believe, after what I read in these books, that as much evidence as they put out there and the research that they did to describe what had happened behind the scenes in the whole Trump campaign with General Flynn getting set up and being prosecuted and getting prison time, it's shocking how much evidence is out there, and nothing has been done with both of those individuals that wrote both of these books that are very similar in the research, but there's facts in it. So I'm still waiting, like a lot of you are, what's going on. And Trump hasn't addressed any of this stuff. He just hasn't. And that's the one thing I'm starting to get a little leery about with the whole Trump administration. You know, they're doing the tariffs, they're doing a lot of good things, and I think it's going to be real positive. But I would like for some of this stuff to come out that they've actually done, and they're actually pursuing individuals. They don't have to name names. I would like them to come out and say, I just want everybody to know, because they're very transparent, right? Trump is always tweeting what's going to happen, what they're going to do. And I'm a little tired of that too. How about tell me when you've done it? But they should come out and say, all right, we are currently investigating 3 individuals from the Crossfire Hurricane debacle, the Russia collusion, and arrests will be made. Something like that. Throw us a little bit of a bone. When you come out there and you go, oh, when tariffs start hitting, we're going to have the External Revenue Service and the IRS. It's probably going to be abolished. People making under 200,000 are going to probably not pay any income tax. You say that all the time. And then crickets, just like the Doge thing. They talked about Fort Knox like it was happening within days. Fort Knox, no one's audited the Fort Knox. I'm still waiting on that. Crickets, again, with the whole Fort Knox. And now Elon Musk, at the cabinet meeting today, he's going to be pulling back on his active role in Doge, going back to being the head of Tesla and focusing on the cars, because I don't think he was prepared for what the left was going to do and go after his dealerships, the car industry with the Teslas, go after actual vehicle owners, going after the dealerships and destroying and vandalizing some of his cars. The stock had lost 50% of its value. But since he announced he's going to be going back to Tesla and focusing on that, the stock has started to rise again. So he's leaving Doge. And look, it wasn't that caused him. He was always going to leave Doge, I think about at 120 days. That was the whole plan anyway, that it was going to be still going. He just wasn't going to be headed up with it. But Fort Knox hasn't gotten done. There's a whole big thing. They're going to do a live thing going into Fort Knox. That hasn't happened yet. So I just wish the Trump administration would stop posting and tweeting so much stuff out there, because it's just like throwing everybody bones, throwing us bones, right? But nothing's getting done. And it's at the point where you keep making a rah, rah, rah. You know, you do your rally the other day and you have another rally. I'm like, okay, great. But let's focus on what we need to happen. We as Americans that voted for you want people arrested. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And it needs to happen quick. We got a long memory. Now, the media has a very short memory, but the American people have a very long memory. And just like when you tell a toddler that you're going to be leaving to go to McDonald's and you happen not to go to McDonald's, they keep reminding you, right? Little kids never forget. They never forget what you tell them. They never forget if you're going to take them to McDonald's. They never forget if you're going to take them to go get ice cream. If you don't take them right away, they're going to harp on you. And that's what the American people are with all the stuff Trump's saying that he's going to do. If you're not doing it, we're going to remind you. And they don't say anything about it. So I wish they would step up a little bit on the progress of some of these indictments or arrests that they're having, because the American people that have voted for Trump are definitely getting a little tired of sitting there and getting pacified with tweets and his True Social coming out and being transparent, but not really doing anything about it. And like I said, I'll be screaming for the mountaintops if things start looking like they're not going in the direction that they should be going. And that's one of them. So Chuck Schumer came out today. He was being interviewed, and he was being very boisterous about how Trump's 100 days is the lowest 100-day poll since polling had started. And then a reporter comes out and says, well, you have a 17% approval rating. What do you think about that? And Chuck Schumer's like, well, polls come and go. It's laughable. Check it out.
Americans are noticing. The polls this week show Trump has the lowest 100-day approval rating since they started polling 80 years ago. The lowest. In people who hate what Trump is proposing. Yes.
There was a poll out today that has your approval rating lower than any other congressional leader at 17%. Are you concerned that you may be a liability for your party?
Polls come and go.
Can you believe it? That's what they do. They tell you one thing and they don't think you hear them, and then they say something else in the same breath. And yet, we're to believe that Trump's negative polling at 100 days, which I don't really believe anyway. I don't believe any poll ABC, CBS, some of these places put out. I just don't believe them. They all have their internal polling, and that's the polling that they actually believe. And we don't see a whole lot of the internal polling, but those are the ones that we don't get to see. We just see as long as it's negative against Trump, that they're going to put it out there. I don't really believe that, but I certainly believe Congress is 17%. I know it's crazy that just said that too, but I believe it because the American people are disgusted with them. And what they're doing, all they're doing is trying to stop Trump's agenda. Like I said a little earlier, I read those 2 books. And in those books, you're just constantly seeing how much they're trying to stop Donald Trump. I've never seen that in my lifetime. Maybe it's just more prevalent now because we have social media and everything's out in the open. And we're peeking behind the curtain a lot more than we were able to back when we were younger. 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Now everything's kind of wide open. people like me doing podcasts. You got people who do a lot of research, and that's how they make a living doing these podcasts and doing interviews and doing journalism. There's everybody online is doing research. So it's really hard to try to cover up things. But it's interesting to find out how much they really despise this guy. They tried in 2016 everything they could to get him to not be the president of the United States. And I'm just one of those guys like, man, just try to get along. Why don't just try to work together and try to figure out something? It's the media's job now to keep us arguing with each other. It's the Democrats' job now to constantly go after Trump at every single turn instead of saying, you know what, let's stop doing this for a little while. Let's try to get along with Trump. Let's sit in a room. Let's all come up with somewhere in the middle where we can all agree on and we can move forward and make the country a little bit better. But that's not what they're doing. It's at every turn. We just had another district court judge, Jennifer Thurston, issued another order banning Border Patrol from arresting illegal aliens unless they have a warrant. This is what they're doing now. They're doing everything they can to stop everything. Under 8 U.S.C. 1357 expressly authorizes Border Patrol to make warrantless arrests for immigration violations, particularly if the person is entering the country illegally. But yet we have a judge that is telling the Border Patrol they can't arrest these people unless they have a warrant. They come into the country illegally. Like if somebody breaks into your house and they get caught breaking into your house and the cops show up, you got to get an arrest warrant for the individual that just broke into your house? No, that person gets arrested and goes to jail. These lower district court judges are out of control. And this is a California judge now, but the left, they knew what they were doing. They had a game plan. I really believe they are a well-oiled machine. The left is. They've been doing this crap for decades, and they know exactly what to do. And the right is constantly arguing with each other. Constantly. They're going after Macy, and they're just constantly going at each other. The right is not on board with each other. They're not. They just aren't. The left, for the most part, they're all on board because they know their side. If you're not on board, they're going to go after you. The right, there's no repercussions for them if you don't get along or start moving forward with the agenda. They still haven't voted on the Trump's big, beautiful bill. Still, 100 days later, still haven't done anything about it. And I heard a rumor that it may not happen until July now. So we need to start moving forward with some of these things and get more organized and start making things happen a little bit better because the left, they're way ahead of us. They really are with their judges that they already know they're going to start with the judges that they have ready to go at a moment's notice to make all these rulings. Senator Lee, he's got a bill right now. He's going to try to strip these lower court judges to only be able to rule on their particular district and not do federal rulings. And they need to reel that in. Why hasn't that should have been done in a week? I don't know why this is taking so long. They're going to keep letting these rogue judges stop the Trump's agenda. Now, Trump's really not going to go along with it just because it's a lower court district judge. It's not the Supreme Court. And that's what I feel that needs to happen. Once the Supreme Court rules, okay, that's a done deal. But these lower federal courts, they're shopping judges. And they're getting judges that are in their pockets that are going to do their bidding. And that's all it is. And Mark Carney just won the Canada's prime minister. He took over for Justin Trudeau. He was like a placeholder anyway. And he just won on the 28th of April against Pierre Poilievre. And Poilievre was a conservative. But I think he was up like 90% to win just a couple of months ago. And then it dropped to about 20%. He was leading the pack because he was like a Trump guy, okay? He didn't really, I think he lost the value with the Canadian people by going after Trump. I don't think that's the right way to do it. And he tried to, come off like a hard guy like Trump. Look, there's only one Donald Trump. You can't do what he does. He kind of wrote the book on it. Now, the guy in UK that's trying to run for prime minister, I can't remember his name, but he gave a speech about a couple of months ago talking about they need to get rid of the woke stuff. They need to start getting rid of the trans stuff. They need to start making England great again. And that guy was saying the right things. He wasn't trying to be a Trump. he was embracing Donald Trump. He actually said his name in a speech. So I think if you kind of embrace Donald Trump and you get those values going, some of those countries will start turning around. But Canada, Pierre just lost it. How do you lose 90% just a few months ago, and then you lose to a huge liberal that his priority when he gave his speech was climate change? He was going to put it in the forefront of Canada's politics. I feel bad for Canada. Now, I don't know why these left people constantly win all the time. It's strange to me. I'm not saying there's a there, but it's just really strange. The guy was up 90%, loses in the election, still held on to his seat, but now they got a Liberal Party member again. Didn't Canada have enough with it? Didn't we see those truck drivers that were protesting? Canada, you got to get your shit together, man. You got to work on your elections. You got to get down, do some grassroots stuff, just like the Trump campaign did. They worked really hard for the presidency. The RNC worked really hard at organizing, making sure we voted early in the ballots. So if they had any issues or any discrepancies, they found them immediately. That was a very good move with the Republican Party. But since they came together for that, they've lost it all. So Canada, I wish you the absolute best, but this was the wrong guy to pick as your prime minister when you got the president of the United States, Donald Trump, right below you, that's talking about tariffs and trying to get your country to get on board with sucking all the money out of the U.S. We're done supporting you, Canada. And you just pick the guy that wants to talk shit about the United States to Donald Trump. It's not going to work out well for you. It just isn't. So the labor secretary in Trump's cabinet meeting today just announced they have just stopped $250 million in the Uzbekistan cotton industry. And like Elon Musk started laughing about it. $250 million, Uzbekistan cotton industry. The United States is sending to these countries. The list goes on of the wasted money of your taxpayer dollars that are getting funded to these other countries that have no business getting any of our dollars. Just like these colleges. I talked about that, Harvard and all that. Why are we subsidizing these universities? We shouldn't. State colleges could get funded by the states. Private universities like Harvard and Yale and all these other ones, we shouldn't be giving them any money. Pull the money out of there and pull the money from all these countries, for the cotton industry in Uzbekistan. Crazy stuff. It's hard to believe that actually happens, but it's been happening. And I just can't stand why the left is so crazily against finding all this money. So I hope the tariff things work. I hope what Trump tweeted on X and came out on True Social, I hope it's true. I hope the tariffs help fund a lot of this in the United States, and people making under $200,000 pay zero income tax and they get all their money in their paycheck. That would be great. And then we'll see what happens with the people on the left. Did anybody see the CBS interview with Bill Belichick and his girlfriend, Jordan? I watched that. It was the most painful interview I think I've ever witnessed. It was awful. Bill Belichick, everybody knows him, former coach of the Patriots. All the press conferences at the end of the game, Bill Belichick is not that good at it. So I don't know why you sit down with him for a huge interview. I mean, he's kind of irrelevant. He's coaching University of North Carolina. It's going to be great this year. I might be able to sell my UCF tickets for a bunch of money because UNC is coming here to play in Orlando. But that's like it. But his girlfriend is 24 and he's 74. A 50-year difference. And during the interview, she had interrupted several times. And one of them, question that he asked was, how did you guys meet? And she came out and blurted out, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about how you met a 74-year-old man when you're 24. Okay, now we all know that right there was a huge tell. I don't know for sure. I'm not saying she's an escort, but I'm not saying she's an escort. That's very strange. How the hell did somebody ask you how you met your girlfriend you've been dating for almost a year now, takes her everywhere, Instagram photos of them together. He has an interview with her. She's sitting right there wearing a Navy shirt just like him, sitting there watching the monitors. She was like an attorney monitoring everything that he answered and the questions that were coming out. The girl's 24. She's a child. She's a child. I have a 21-year-old daughter, a 23-year-old daughter, a 30-year-old daughter, a 29-year-old son, and a 33-year-old son. And I'm telling you right now, that woman is a child. She's a child. And that dude who's 74 years old is dating her, and she's manipulating the conversation and the interviews. That's strange. And everybody likes to talk about how they met their significant other. Everybody has a story. Oh, she was cutting my hair, or I met her at the grocery store. We both reached for the cantaloupes at the same time, or, we met at Starbucks getting coffee, or I dialed her up online and she showed up in my hotel room and she figured out who I was and she just kept calling me. And next thing you know, we're dating. So we don't like to tell everybody how we met. Very strange interview. Really strange. It's like Joe Biden and Jill Biden. It was kind of like that. It was reminiscence of that. Now, is Bill Belichick got his wits about him? I think he does. It was a bad interview. It's terrible. God, imagine you drew that straw and like, hey, you got to go interview Bill Belichick. And he got his ripped Navy t-shirt. That was probably his father's t-shirt, because his dad coached Navy football for like 30 years. So it's probably nostalgic to him and he probably wore it. I don't know. Maybe it is. I like to think it's his dad's t-shirt. That's why he wore it. But maybe it was his. I don't know. But she wore one too. It was a very strange interview. And there's a lot of questions have arose now after seeing how Jordan was during the interview with Bill Belichick. It was very strange. And now everybody's going to be digging even deeper. And trust me, they'll find out how they met. The internet always knows. And they're going to find out. So stick around for that one because that's going to be coming out hopefully the next couple of weeks. And I get to do another show on that. And speaking of the NFL, the Falcons have been fined $250,000 and defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich $100,000 for failing to prevent the disclosure of confidential information distributed to the team in advance of the NFL draft. Now, if you aren't aware of what happened was, Ulbrich's son got Shedeur Sanders' cell phone number, private number that was just designated for teams that might potentially draft him. So like 32 teams had his number. That was it. But this young man got the number and prank called Shedeur Sanders. And I said it before. I think it was awful. I think he should lose his job. I really do. Because what his son did to try to get clicks on social media and be funny, haha, you're a douchebag for doing that. You're a douchebag for doing that. There's no other way to say that. And to anybody think that was cool, and for the kid, and he's a kid. I don't care if he's 18, college, whatever. He's a kid. For anybody to think that's cool to do that, you're an idiot. I think the guy should lose his job. Teach him a lesson. Teach him a lesson. Like, listen, man, your son just pulled a prank during probably the most important time of a young college football player's life and did a prank call on him. And I think it was in poor taste. And I believe the guy should lose his job. That's just my personal opinion on that. And I don't know if anybody saw the interview with Trump and the ABC reporter that was yesterday, the day before. My God, it's awful. It was awful. I think Trump likes the adversarial role in some of these interviews. I think that's why he does it. I think that's why he went with ABC, because he's not a big fan of them anyway. And he just likes having arguments with some of those reporters, and he eats their lunch. And the weirdest exchange was the whole Orrego Garcia guy with saying he has MS-13 on his knuckles. The reporter was arguing with Trump, saying, no, it wasn't. It was Photoshop. And I think he was referring to the MS-13 numbers and letters, alphabet letters and numerical numbers that were Photoshopped on his hand so you can know what the symbols signified. And that's what Trump should have really said. Because listen, there are symbols on his hand, and each one of the symbols signifies a letter and a number, which designates MS-13. The guy was arguing with Trump about it. And it was an exchange that was to the point where it's embarrassing for the reporter, because you're saying, well, when he was in the prison, it's not on his hand. But yes, it is on his hand, because it is a symbol that designates those specific tattoo designs to signify MS-13. Very simple. Everybody knows that. All the gang task force know that. But this reporter didn't know that, and he wanted to argue with Trump. So that was a pretty interesting conversation and back and forth. And check it out. I just can't see why a reporter would want to go and deal with Trump, because you know he's ready for you. He's got the information. And he's going to tell you to shut up and quit talking, or he'd just get up and walk out, which he threatened to do.
Even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped.
So, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Anyway, that's it for today. Join me next time for a little chit-chat, some observation, and some good old-fashioned conversation. Thanks.